Hey campers, Georgia, back in the man cave. Yep, looking at another sharp and shiny. This one from Imperial. Yeah, Imperial. That's Imperial Schrade. This one is the Congress. Different. Let's check it out. So like I said, this is the Imperial Schrade Black Swirl Congress is what it's called, and the model number here is the IMP17CON CON, and it comes in just your regular Imperial box, very typical of Schrade style stuff. And of course this is Imperial Schrade, and we all know from a previous video I did how complicated that can be, because on the box here it says a Battenfield product and a subsidiary of American Outdoor Brands Corporation. So you figure it out, because I struggled. Anyway, get it out of the box here for you. Style wrapping in it. And oh yeah. See that? Nice. I like that handle. That, they say black swirl, but it's got like a green in it. I'm not sure if this green's a swirl or the black's a swirl, but it looks very nice. Looks kind of busy, not used to this. There's a lot of blades on this. There's 4 blades, and like I said, you can see how busy that is at the top. That's going to be interesting to look at. And of course you've got that bow shape in the handle here. Bolsters, stainless steel. The blades, I believe the blades are 3CO13 MOV. Don't quote me on that. I've looked at a couple of reviews on these, and some people say 440. So far, I like the weight, the size, very nice. And like I said, you've got the stainless steel bolsters on both sides here. You've got your brass pins. The handle has a little bit of a thicker belly there. You can see it on the scale right there. You can feel it there. It'll be interesting to see how that feels in my hand. The pins are brass. You can see they've got the 3 pins either side. And then of course it's got that Imperial insert in it right there. You can see it there. I like the style. I like the way it looks. This has some kind of, I want to say, sharp edges right there on the dip there, on those slots right in the front. I can feel them. Probably not going to be a problem, because you're going to hold the knife this way and the blade's going to be there. We'll see how that goes. Overall, good looking knife. Everything seems smooth. I can feel a slight edge here on this scale is sticking up. I can just feel it on all of them, except this one's nice and smooth. Not a big deal. Little things like that. It's not like I'm going to be spending 8 hours holding this knife, so I don't see a problem there. Do like the handle. I like that. I don't know if you can see how nice that handle looks. A nice swirl to it. Concerning the handle and what it's made of, in the description they say celluloid. But if you want to know what celluloid is, basically celluloid is a plastic. It's a natural component, probably the most common component found in nature, surprisingly. Right down to the itty bitty little stuff. So the nice thing about it is you can form very thin. The bad thing about it, it gets kind of brittle. And this was the follow-up, the answer to Bakelite. For those of you that are half my age, you know what Bakelite is. If you're the same age as me, well, there was wood before Bakelite. So, Bakelite was really the first plastic or celluloid to come out. To me, as long as it's not going to break, it is a pretty handle. And you can see it there. Very nice. So it does, because it is the Congress and typical of a Congress style knife, it has 4 blades. And like I said, what surprised me was all this kind of looks a little busy, but we'll have a look see. It has the 4 blades, and you can see they sit in there pretty well. right about there is a slight, a big gap. Things like that don't bother me. This is a slip joint. It's not a locking knife. So we'll see how well the springs, obviously they have 2 springs on the end here for the four blades. So let's have a look at some of the blades here. I'm going to pull them all out so we can look at them all at once. Oh, that's pretty good tension right there. Yeah, it's got good tension and sharp. So that's a good start. Interesting blades here. Looking at the description, I don't think the description's right, but we'll look into that. So there you have the 4 blades there. Very nice. They're sharp. I can feel they're all pretty. You can just by feeling the edge there that they come sharp, which is a good thing. That's a plus. For me, this is my first Imperial Schrade knife. I have bought other Schrade knives and looked at them, but this is the first for me. I wanted to look at this style knife. You know, I love this style. I love looking at them. Rough Rider, you name them. They're all got them, and I love the Rough Rider series. Surprisingly, the Rough Rider is a little bit more expensive. This one, not quite as expensive as them. Looking at it, I'm going to say that the Rough Rider in general, the finishing on the knife is a little bit better. You don't get those little, you can't feel the edges and things like that. But not a big deal. You can see very nice. So I'm going to put the blades away. So like I said, it has 4 blades. And that's typical for a Congress. You can see the sway on the handle right there. Nice sway. It feels good. Feels good. In the description, which was surprising, they said they have a clip point. They have a sheep's foot. They have a pen knife. And what's the name that they call it? Coping blade. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked into coping blades, and I'm going to say Wharncliffe. Kind of the same thing. So all the blades are fairly familiar to everybody. A lot of them are close, and it is 4 blades, 4 good blades. Right off the bat, I'd say this is a whittling knife. You can use this to do some carving, things like that. It's got every blade you're going to need for it, and we'll look at each one. Right now, I'm looking at this one. Right here. I'm starting with this one because if you look at the blade right there, it has the Imperial Schrade logo. It has the iron worker right there. And then right here, it says Imperial. Can you see that with the little crown on it? Let's see if I can get that for you. You see that there? Yeah. And then on the other side here, it gives the model number. As you can see there, IMP17CON, which I believe stands for Imperial 17, model number 17, and it's a Congress. The other blades are just plain. They don't have any markings on it. This is obviously what they consider their main blade. And looking at these blades, I'm really having a hard time deciding what's what. I do like this style blade, and something that I notice about this, look at the sway on this knife. You got the dip there, and then the blade sways down. When you grip it, it's a really nice feel to it. I like that. I've never had a Congress, and this is a first for me. I'm going to say this blade here is what they refer to as the coping blade, and to me, I want to call it a Wharncliffe. You know, it's got that flat bottom here. It's got that straight with the big curve down. It's not a sharp curve down like a sheep's foot would be. It does have a point on it, whereas the sheep's foot kind of stays away from that point. So that's the first blade. I'm going to look at this one here, and here's where I get confused. Look at that, and look at that. Almost the same blade, except, well, they might even be the same size, although the only thing difference I can see is along this blade here, this looks flatter, and the same thickness all the way along that blade. You see that? It's kind of parallel edged. This is not. It's shallower here and comes into a wider one, which that's why I think Wharncliffe. I don't know if they mean this to be the sheep's foot. Let's have a look at some of the other blades here. Here, same shape, smaller. Now, this curve here tells me Warrenclyffe, just the same. It's not a sheep's foot coping. Maybe this is their coping blade. I'm not sure. But like you can see, it's smaller and whatever. We'll go to the sizes. We'll just measure them all at one time. And we can see where we're going. Here, you can see there. And this to me is more of a sheep's foot. But it has a little bit of an angle here. I'm guessing here. Am I correct? I don't know. Can't find anybody to tell me. But they are a little different. All kind of the same, different sizes. Typically, the shape is similar, which makes me think it's really a whittler. You can do some stuff here just with the different sizes will allow you to work different things. Here it's pretty obvious. You can see how thin that blade is, the depth of it. And then right here on the choil sticks out way here. And then your ricotta right here is pretty big compared to the blade. It's obvious. If you don't know what this is for, when you sharpen, that's where you're going to stop. That's the end of the blade. That's what they have that there for. These are really stiff in here. They're not going to slip on you. They're really tight. That impresses me. The springs are really good in these. Stainless steel bolsters, like I said, both sides. You're going to be springs both sides. You've got your 3 pins and your scales. Let's have a look at the dimensions quickly. Have my handy dandy flexible measuring tool. And we're going to look at the overall size here. Now, something that I don't typically mention when I'm showing knives. This one, looking right here, bolster to bolster. You're looking at just a touch under 3.5. Now, you need to check your states that you live in, if you're in the US, whether this is legal or not. I don't think the handle's the problem. It's the blades and the way each state measures the blades. That I found interesting. I was reading up on that. Some states say the blade length is from the tip here right there to the choil. Other states say end of the blade right up to the handle, right up to the bolster. So it varies. I'm going to measure a bolster to tip. This blade here, 2.2 inches. I believe that's legal in just about every state in the US. I think when you get up to about 3 is the typical number for the states, the length of the legal blade. So I'm going to say this is the biggest blade. One of these two are the bigger. We'll measure them right now, these two here. So let's have a quick look here. Then the big blades, 2.2. Look at that. Surprise, surprise, 2.2. So the bigger blades, all about the same length. That little blade, this one here, you can have a quick look at, and we're looking at 1 3/4 inch from the bolster to the tip. So the blades, typical lengths for this style blade, this style knife, shouldn't be a problem in your state. Don't take my word for that. You want to check your state rules. And this is something I should have talked about earlier. And that is, not all knives are legal in all states. Just like in the countries. In the UK, the knife requirements are pretty strict. You guys will know that. I'm sure everybody knows their knife requirements. In the States here, you're going to have to check your local state rules. And I believe typical for most states, and majority of the states, is maximum 3 inches. So you're not going to get a lot of folding pocket knives more than 3-inch blades on them. The Congress, Imperial Schrade. Now, holding it like this, I can feel those blades. But you don't walk around holding the knife. It sits in your pocket. And there's no real, well, these are kind of sharp, but that's typical. The blades stick out there. Can you see that? That's kind of typical for a lot of knives. So you're going to get that edge there. You might get a little fluffy in your pocket, walking around. No big deal. Clean it off. Speaking of clean, this Every blade has a nail nick in it. Just a plain nail nick to pull the blade out. And when I look in there, it's a little dirty on all the blades. So I'm going to, I'm just running my nail through there. I'm pulling dirt out. I think it's manufacturing leftovers from sharpening, cleaning, that sort of thing. They didn't really get into there. And I've noticed it in a couple of places. Big deal? Nah. The shape. Interesting shape. I think I kind of like that. I like this dip and the way the blade is higher than the center of the belly here of the actual handle. And it feels pretty good in there. This part here where it sits in my hand there, it sits there nicely. Interesting. I'm going to look up and see why it's called a Congress. Hold on. So I'm back. Nobody can really tell me why it's called a Congress. There's been a lot of guesses. One guy said it's the way, because it has so many blades. And by the way, some of the Congresses will have 2 to 5 blades. 4 is typical. A lot of people say it's overkill. And they say because there's so many blades and the way they have to put them together, the way they congregate, is where the name came from. Guesswork. Who knows? I'm guessing. I'm just reading what's out there. It is a popular knife. It's a busy knife. There's 4 blades in it. And I can see why a lot of people say it's kind of overkill. And if you look at them, all the knives, the style is very, very similar. Sheepsfoot, Warrenclough. I don't know where they got the penknife. Maybe they mean this is the penknife. These two, almost exactly the same, except a slight difference in the thickness here, whereas this one is more of a parallel blade. An interesting knife. I like the handle. I like the feel of it. I will have to get used to this busyness up here. It's kind of a surprise. You don't normally see that a lot. And I thinking about it now, I can see the reason. This is the shape of the handle. You have that curve, so the blades are not sitting flat. They're at a slight angle. If you look at that, you can see the blades at angles. So they tend to congregate up top here. Maybe they're right. That's where the word Congress comes from. I think it's time to go play with the knife. Sharp and shiny. Got to do something with it. Test out the blades. I have a little chore I need to do, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to use this guy. We'll see how that goes. And if you wanted to know how much I paid for this, well, that much. Now, I can tell you that if you shop around a little bit, you're probably going to find a better price. They're around about maximum the $10 mark. And I've seen them as low as $7.99, $8.99, and then of course you're going to deal with shipping and things like that. I have me a stick, and I'm going to make me basically a giant toggle. And what I use it for is, for some reason, I have my favorite backpack, which is this one here, which is a modding top, 25 liter, I believe. And the only thing I was disappointed with on this backpack is that every backpack I own has a handle on the top here where you can carry it. This doesn't have one. And I went to go hang it up on a tree, and to my horror, couldn't do it the way I normally do it because my toggles are this long. Too small. So I'm going to make me a big old toggle out of this. It's going to sit in here, and I can put my 550 through, then hang it around the tree on the back straps. Okay, I'm outside. Got the Congress with me, and I got my giant toggle that I'm going to use for my backpack. Nice day today. I think it's going to be a warm one. Downtown Minnesota. Woot. So we're going to choose some blades. I'm going to try them all. First thing I want to do is just clean up the ends, clean up the stick, and we'll try that with the little pen blade, I think. It's this one here. Like I said, I do like the way the feel of this is. It's nice, unusual. So I'm just going to slice off the bark. This doesn't have to be pretty, so I'm not too worried about it. It just has to work. It's doing the job. Right, clean it up a little bit, smooth it out a little bit. But look at that, it's just snipping into the ends there. I just want to round that off so we know that's good. But I do want to use the big guy, which I want to say is a Warrenclyffe, or whatever they call it. Can't remember what they call it. Put something in the comments below. Tell me what it is. These blades confused me. They all look the same. Don't want any sharp edges around. It just catches on things. You don't want that. It's always a good time just to play with a knife you got. Get a feel for it. And the smaller you make these little cuts, the rounder you're going to get it. Wow. Making nice little curls out of it. Let's try this big guy here. The one that has the name on it and everything. This is wood that, like I told you, it came from the backyard in the South 40 here. A month or so ago, a little bit more than that, we had a big storm. The neighbor's tree, a big branch fell off and fell in the road. City came and cleared up the road and threw it all in my yard. And of course there's all sorts of little sticks in it. These blades are sharp. It feels okay. I was surprised. I thought this would be an issue, but it doesn't really affect me. These blades are great. I'm liking them. And about center right here, I want to make a little, just reduce a little bit like a V notch, because that's where the 550 cord is going to sit. Which this one, I haven't tried this one, which is, I don't know, sheep's foot. Stop cut down the middle here. That'll be the center of the V going in. This blade's very small. Maybe it's a little bit heavy for it. It's doing it though. Not really designed for any heavy work. It's a small blade. Digging in there towards that stop cut I did, and then I'm going to turn it around and do it the other way. Get off a little bit. Do the same on the other side. I do like the blades on this one. You can see why these are popular. Picking up off. Now if you look, you can see there's a little bit of fluff, what I call fluff, stuff sticking up. It's not really clean. Not a major problem, but what I like to do is get my trusty Bic and burn them off. And the thing about it is it gives the stick a little bit of character. It just looks pretty cool after you're done. So you just burn it off. And you're just going to and there you can see I've burnt it. And then all I'm going to do is, after it cools down a bit, just rub it. And it burns off all those little stickers sticking up, because they're going to burn quicker than the rest. And you just rub it and they come off. But you can see there how I burnt it. Then I just rub it, palm of my hand like that, and it smooths it right off. You don't have any stickers sticking out. But enough of that. Just wanted to show you that the knife actually works. I'm impressed. I do like these blades. I can see why these knives are so popular. The choice of blades, and they're solid blades. I like this. The Congress, Imperial Schrade, very nice. So I'll show you quickly how this works with my backpack that doesn't have a carrying loop on it. And I carry in the top of my pack a piece of 550 cord, 4 to 5 feet long. I have it that long because the trees you're going to come across out there are going to be different sizes, so you want it to be able to fit. And on the ends of the
550, I have 2 loops, one big one, one small one. This is for my pack, the big one. So what I do is you can loop this around, and what I'm going to do is just put the big loop through the little loop. That's not going anywhere. I'm going to use this to go through there and hang my pack onto it. Sit the 550 in that little groove that I made, put the straps on and hang it. Just like that. And as you can see, keeps my pack off the ground. The ground is wet, doesn't get wet in the pack. Even if you have a waterproof pack, you don't want it sitting in the wet, the mud and that sort of thing. Minnesota, a lot of snow. Keep it out of the snow. You can hang it on a tree just like that. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. You know the story. Pretty sure I'll be back and have a look at some more of these. Spread my wings a little bit and have a look at some other manufacturers. Like I said, the price, you can't beat that. Just saying. Thanks for watching, and you will be safe out there, especially when you're playing with these guys. Take care now. See you again soon. Bye.